back rooms.
I guess that's the meeting you're talking about.
It's quiet like a library. I think they just put it there.
I
No
think it's-
comment.
Never saw it before.
No, it's
Never
our
seen it
first
before.
meeting with it there, so we
Never
don't
saw
know
it, never
yet.
noticed it.
Brand new, at least for us.
Yes, yes, of course.
What?
So do we have to start all over? No.
Yes?
Okay, you're ready.
Okay.
Log in.
As required by the Open Public Meetings Act of 1975, adequate notice of this scheduled meeting has been provided to the public by notices given to the Home News Tribune, Star Ledger, and Sentinel, posted on the library bulletin boards and website, and given to the Township Clerk's office. Roll call, please.
Yes, good evening. Ms. Kraus?
Here.
Ms. Mead?
Here.
Ms. Pam? Is she in yet, or we're going to try to get her in?
Trying to get her in, but no.
Mr. Patel?
He is an excused absence.
Mr. Di Pasquale?
Here?
Ms. Leary?
She has an excused absence.
And Ms. Massey?
Here.
You forgot me.
Who's missing?
O'Neill.
Oh, Miss O'Neill, I'm sorry.
I'm here.
And Mr. Romano?
Here.
Maybe we should go home now, I don't know. All right, the first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from November 21st, 2023, the regular session. Hopefully, everyone had an opportunity to review them. Are there any questions or comments? All right, hearing none, the regular session minutes of November 21st are approved by unanimous consent. We also have the minutes of November 21st, 2023, the closed session, and hopefully everyone has had an opportunity to review those. Do we have any questions or comments on those? All right, hearing none, those minutes, November 21st, the closed session, are approved by unanimous consent. On the agenda, we now have a resolution to move into closed session. Whereas the Open Public Meetings Act provides for the exclusion of the public at Board of Trustees meetings during the discussion of certain matters, and whereas prior to the exclusion of the public from a Board of Trustees meeting, it is required that the board adopt a resolution stating the general nature of the subject to be discussed and stating as precisely as possible the time when the minutes of the discussion conducted in closed session can be disclosed to the public. And whereas this body is about to consider a matter which falls within the purview of NJSA 10:4-12 and can properly exclude the public from such discussions, now therefore be it resolved that the Edison Public Library Board of Trustees shall enter into a closed session to consider the following matters, contracts. So do we have a motion to go into closed session?
Motion.
All right, do we have a second? Second. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So we are now in closed session.
Ms. Massey, given the fact that we don't have this, did you want to go into the back
We're going
and
to
try
go,
to use the
yeah,
phone?
we're going to go back here. No. but we don't have the hours, so, but Jody is not able to join.
I don't know how much you'll play, but.
Okay. All right, we're set? Oh, sorry.
That's what matters.
It's only 5 foot. This is small. My daughter's 6'1". All right.
Okay.
Are we ready?
I'm as ready as I'll ever be.
Yes. You need a paper when it's done. Okay.
Gotta get her a gavel. Oh, it's spicy? Minty. These bags are getting smaller and smaller each year, did you notice?
Starting preschool, so, right?
Well, it's just,
Did
I
you
guess
ever-
because
did you want
she doesn't
candy?
speak well, so I guess it doesn't-
What? That's a good microphone. What about the microphone? It is? The candy is minty? Ooh, look at this. All right.
We'll see.
Okay. All right.
That's why I want.
All right. Do we have a motion to return to open session?
Motion.
Second.
Thank you. All right, we are now in open session. I don't think we need to vote on that, do we? No, we're good. All right, I will keep my report very brief. I just want to let you know that we did attend a meeting of the Friends of the Edison Public Library on Wednesday, November 29th. It was really very productive. The people are outstanding. Everyone is encouraged to join the Friends. It's very, very easy. You can either go online and use the online form, or there are registration forms available at all of the branches and on the bookmobile. Their next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, January 17th, 2024, and the location will be announced. All right, so let's move on to the financial report. All right, we have the financial reports, and hopefully everyone had an opportunity to review the operating account, capital account, the North Edison account, and payroll account. Are there any questions about any of those? All right, hearing none, let's go on to the bill list, and hopefully you've had an opportunity to review the bill list. We actually have a copy of it here as well. Are there any questions or comments about the bill list?
Yeah, the only, I guess, question I have is that, what is it? On 4 pages, they list everything like individually. Does that have to continue?
Well, what was happening, and Ms. Massey can tell you, is that as each line on a purchase order is entered, it shows up as a single line on the bill list. So, for example, we might have bought books, 4 books, and then 6 books, and then 8 books.
I know, we've
there
got book one, book 1, books 2, book 1, book 2, and you've got 4 pages of that. Is there any way to just consolidate it? So you have Brodart and Company and what the total amount is, and if we have questions, we can go from there?
We can try to consolidate it. For one thing, what we're trying to do is not lump everything on one check, because what happened was we were getting 4 or 5 through the way the system works, voiding all the checks. And so this was the way so that it doesn't combine everything. We'll take a look and see if we can do something on the bill list that doesn't really impact the checks. Because we could just do that for you and consolidate that, just add those all up and say Brodart.
Well, yeah, this is an Excel spreadsheet, so
Yeah,
just
we
put,
could just add those
Brodart
up.
and Company, and then
Yeah.
you click that little thing up on the right on the corner,
Yeah, and then we can
and then
there,
just put that total for Brodart and put the other total for Ingram.
yeah, and then we could do that. That wouldn't really affect the checks coming out.
Right.
And yeah, that's fine. We can do that.
Yeah, because I don't think everybody needs to see all of the individual checks.
No, we don't need to see $47.48.
Right, right.
84
Any
cents.
other questions or comments?
But I would-
Yeah, Alan?
I
Yes.
was just, oh, go ahead.
Okay, so basically, book one means it was just one book. Book two means there were two books,
Yeah.
and so on and so forth, and they all have different prices. Because I'm looking at, for two books, it was $43.38, but for one book, it was $47.84. So there is no, one price for any type of book. They're all different prices, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I just did want to mention, just to follow up, on lines, for example, if it's okay, look, for example, line 144, 145, 146, and 147, I think the board was more interested in some of the utilities. So I think since those are less than 3 pages of Brodart and Ingram, if it's okay, we'll leave those, because those get entered as a separate lines. You'll get to see what the
Yeah.
gas and electric is on those. That probably makes more sense.
That
than
makes
the number
sense
of
to
books.
see that,
Absolutely,
the
yeah.
different locations. That's good. Any other questions or comments? All right, hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the bill list?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, roll call, please.
Ms. Kraus,
Yes.
Ms. Mead,
Yes.
Ms. Pam is absent, Mr. Patel is absent, Mr. Di Pasquale,
Yes.
Ms. Leary is not here, Ms. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mr. Romano,
Yes.
and Ms. Massey.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you. And now we come to the directors and assistant directors' reports.
Thank you. We have no new personnel changes except for the fact of Janet's retirement that's coming up in January. I hope we're going to be able to see everyone this Friday at the holiday party. We're also doing that as a retirement for Janet. That was her choice to combine it, so she doesn't always like to be the center of attention. So I hope library closes at 5, so I hope that we see most of you. Staff will be coming from the other branches by 5:30, and we presume we'll be here from 6 to 8. The staff has got really good feedback with our Menlo Park story times. It's a good relationship that we have with the Menlo Park Mall, and I hope next year we can try to do some other things. But at this point, we've been limited to the story times, and it could be when we do the closing of the North Edison, we might do a pop-up there like we had done a long time ago, probably it's almost 2 years ago, to publicize the library and its events. We are anticipating the new Sprinter van to be delivered still in January. The holdup had to do with the doors, and so those are here, and so I'm expecting to hear any day now the exact day of when we will go and pick that up. The self-check machines, the North Edison branch are going to have theirs upgraded on Monday. Biblioteca will be there, so that will be a vast improvement to what we have now. The museum passes, we have been working with a vendor who has been doing a museum pass program, and I have to say, Kevin's got a lot more patience than I do. He's been working with them now for 4 months, and no sooner does it look like it works, the next day there's a glitch. So we are planning, starting next week, to actually do it by hand until we can get this software to work and or find another software company so that people will be able to reserve online. Winter Wonderland, the bookmobile was represented and the library was there during the afternoon. They left about 5:30 when it got dark because they were working just one shift on Saturday, and several hundred people went through. a lot of people don't really know what the bookmobile is. They think that it is a place they could buy books or a government agency. So it's interesting to just have discussions with people. No, it's Edison Public Library, and you can borrow books and you can return them elsewhere. So it really is the best vehicle, the best opportunity we have now for outreach around the town. I just want to follow up with what Ms. Massey said in regards to the Friends. The Friends are already planning the next book sale for National Library Week in April. And we also are going to use that for some of you on the board. You remember the 90th anniversary? Well, we're up to 95. So we'll be celebrating our 95th anniversary of service to the Edison community during National Library Week. So we're making big plans for that. That's it from my end. Deborah? She doesn't have anything, so
All right,
thank you.
thank you. All right, we're to the committee reports right now. Facilities and Bookmobile, we did not meet. However, things are moving along. It appears as though the renovation at Maine will go out to bid on, hopefully sometime in January. And that there was an initial meeting with the new, oh my goodness, architect regarding North, and that seems to be moving along very nicely in terms of design and ideas. And then Alan had mentioned that he did speak with the state librarian, and that was good, so that she approves of everything that has been done, so that's excellent. Finance. Sue?
Okay, the Finance Committee, we had a meeting, when was it? On December 6th at 8 o'clock. And we mostly were going over the memorandum of understanding that the library has with the township regarding shared services. And our director and assistant director have been working tirelessly in getting a lot of the services that the township previously provided taken over, again, by just the library, in addition to bill payment, paying the employees, the salaries, and working with pensions and healthcare. And we've come very close to getting an agreement, but we're still a little bit far away, especially regarding a lot of the health insurance. And to that end, we've run into a bit of a stalemate, but we're still hopeful we can come to a good conclusion shortly.
Thank you. Personnel, Fiona, that we didn't.
The Personnel Committee did not meet last month, or this month.
Thank you. And policy and bylaws.
Give me 1 second. All right, sorry. Policy and bylaws, we did meet. We discussed policy for a few policies that we will be discussing under new business. The meeting room, unattended children policy, and security camera policy we will be voting on tonight, or at least introducing. And one, we're working on a volunteer policy, but that needs a little bit more work, so hopefully we'll be able to bring it back in January.
Excellent. Thank you. And strategic planning did not meet. And I know there has been discussion about reviewing the strategic plan, and hopefully that will be done sometime in January. Now, do we have any old business? I do not believe so. Can we open it up for public comment? Do we have any public comment? All right. How about trustee comments, questions? Joe, we want to start with you. Do you have any trustee comments or questions?
I have a little statement.
Oh, very nice.
The superintendent of schools, Dr. Adarelli, we've met with the library board, the library committee, Alan, Patty, and we've discussed lines of communication we should have better lines of communications. I seen in this packet that in our policies, we're looking at unattended students, or in other words, people that show up and don't have parents or don't have supervision. I understand that if there's an issue, we will work with the library board or the library. But if we have to make sure that the policies are plainly written, plainly posted, and if there's any problems at all, that the proper authorities be notified. And I just don't want to slap it on any one individual, but we have to be able to address the problem with the proper authorities. That's about all I can really say.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Fiona? Lisa? No?
Happy holidays?
Okay. Tell us.
Yes, I do. So I, the other day, just decided I was curious as to the circulation numbers over 2023. And it still seems that Clara Barton hasn't really increased this year or the year before. It's still 2,500, 3,000, 3,200. I'm just curious, do you have any idea why those numbers still are not increasing for Clara Barton? I mean, we had that whole thing happen last year. We had residents coming out, let's save Clara Barton, it's our library, but we still have the issue of the circulation is not increasing. Are we getting more people to come to the library for other programs? Are we keeping records of that? If we are, is that something that the board or myself can see? Because it's still, at this point, in my view, it's still very disappointing that we're funding, a location that is still not being used to the utmost that it can by the residents. And I'm actually curious why that's the case. Why the residents aren't using the library as much, or maybe I'm wrong and maybe 3,000 or 3,500 is the max based on those that are in that neighborhood. I don't know the answers to that, but I'd be curious to know, like, if the expectations I'm setting too high, well, then I'd like to, it would be nice to know that, just because, again, at this point, the way I see things, we're spending a good amount of money, we're looking at renovations, and I'm not looking at, hey, close Clara Barton, that's not even in my thought, I'm not talking about that. I'm just curious, what can be done to increase that, or again, if that's the max we're going to be getting based on the population, then that's what it would be. But I'd be curious also to know the attendance of the programs, how many we have coming, because if the circulation isn't high, well, maybe that library is just going to be good for just programs there. So I'm just curious, and I don't, if you don't have answers now, that's fine. But at some point, it would just be nice to kind of see, because the other two libraries you see, they're just being used, circulation's high. So it's just questions that I have about that. So that's all.
Okay.
Madam President,
Yes.
in the works right now, there's 4 single units that are being built on Bauer Avenue There is a complex that's being discussed in planning and zoning, actually across the street from the library, and about 500 feet down, there is another piece of property that's being discussed in zoning for more housing. So I think, not to, I can't answer those questions, but there's a 3-story building going up on Amboy Avenue and another 4-story building, from what I understand, that's being proposed. And they're not office buildings. That's housing. So I think with the addition of the housing, I think the library, with programs that we're looking at, programs that our library uses, new programs to bring into the library, I think we'll eventually see more foot traffic. With the renovations or with the building that's being proposed on Amboy Avenue, I believe that and with the programs that we have and the new programs that are being designed, I think that will help the foot traffic on Amboy Avenue or the Clara Barton Library.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a good
Let
point.
me just say one more
Yes.
thing. Because along with what I was saying, to me, if we do need to spend more money, we need more personnel at Clara Barton, we need more programs, we have the funds to do that, we know that. So in my opinion, if we need to spend extra money, more money than we are now, to get the programs, get the personnel, and we think that's going to work, then let's do it. I would rather do that than see the location not being used. Again, I don't know what would bring it in, but whatever ideas we have and whatever cost it would be, I would just love to see that library flourish. I mean, I think that's something that would be fantastic for their neighborhood. I really do. So just wanted to bring that up. So.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to, I can comment on, every time I have been to Clara Barton recently, it has been much busier, much busier. And the other thing is that we always have to remember that we can't always focus on circulation numbers. I do believe that there are a number of people who go to the library, any of them, and maybe not check out any books, but they do use it.
Well, that's why I was saying, if there's some kind of report that we can see other than just the circulation numbers, because that's all we're seeing.
Right, and because I don't think we can see the numbers, like even if people from the Clara Barton area or any of the areas are borrowing online material,
Right.
I don't think we
Yeah,
have any
I'm
clue.
saying like even the programs, like if
Right.
we saw, for this month, we had 300 people at the programs, then to me, it's like, okay, again, then that location maybe is just going to be more about programs then.
Sure.
Which is fine.
Sure.
But as a library trustee, just for myself, and I think it'd be great for all of us,
To see.
it would be nice to see that so that we have a picture of what each what
Sure.
each library is being used for. What's the use of each library? Because they're all different.
It's all different.
They're all different locations. They're all there. There's so much variety that
Exactly.
it would just be nice for us to see what's happening at each one. That's all.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right, so I don't have any comments or questions right now. So we'll move on to new business. We have a resolution to update and revise the meeting room policy. Do we have that motion?
So moved. Sorry, so moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Any questions or comments? All right, hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Kraus,
Yes.
Ms. Mead,
Yes.
Mr. DePasquale,
Yes.
Ms. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mr. Romano,
Yes.
and Ms. Massey.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. All right, and we have a resolution to update and revise the unattended children's policy. Do we have a motion for that?
So moved.
All right, do we have a second?
Yes.
All right, if there are no questions or comments, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Ms. Kraus,
Yes.
Ms. Mead,
Yes.
Mr. Di Pasquale,
Yes.
Ms. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mr. Romano,
Yes.
and Ms. Massey.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. The next one is a resolution to update and revise the security camera policy. If there are no questions or comments, could we have a roll call vote?
Well, we need to make a motion.
We need a motion, yes.
I move that we accept the policy.
Thank you so much. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Now, if we don't have any questions or comments, could we have a roll call vote?
Ms. Kraus,
Yes.
Ms. Mead,
Yes.
Mr. Di Pasquale,
Yes.
Ms. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mr. Romano,
Yes.
and Ms. Massey.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Then we have a resolution to proceed with legal action with the township with regard to the payment of library funds. That's basically with our shared services agreement. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, if there are no questions or comments, could we have a roll call?
Just
Oh, sure,
a
yes.
quick comment. Please explain when you say legal action, what that exactly means, so people aren't just coming up with their own idea of what it means.
Okay, I will, if you could, yeah.
So, over the course of the last couple of years, what we've been trying to do is have a shared services agreement with the township regarding allocation of various services. Now, as I said before, in accordance with state law, the township, as part of the taxing authority, taxes the residents of the municipality and collects a certain portion of taxes called the 1/3 mill based upon, that is supposed to go to the library. That 1/3 mill is not township money, it's not township taxes, that's money that's collected as part of the taxes to be paid to the library. And so that 1/3 mill that is collected is supposed to be paid to the library in quarterly installments through to the treasurer of the library, who is then responsible for putting it in the bank, and then the library functions and uses that money to function. Now, the township performs certain tasks for the library, snow removal, et cetera, and for that, they're to be compensated. That is supposed to be done through a shared services agreement. By law, there's supposed to be a shared services agreement in place providing for how much money goes to the township, how much the library is going to pay for snow removal, et cetera, just like the library would have to contract with an independent contractor or some other entity. So for years, there had been no shared services agreement. And for a number of years, the township would just assign a number and deduct from the 1/3 mill that was owed to the library a percentage of the township's costs. The library director that we've had, Mr. Kleiman, who's come on board, when he came on board, took a look at this and saw that there were things in there such as paying for the mayor's salary, paying for other things that were not properly attributable to the library. So there was this push to try and determine why are these deductions being made to the library's 1/3 mill that is supposed to be paid quarterly. And there were not sufficient answers. Then we tried to have a shared services agreement where we would assign values to various services that were being provided so that we could put numbers to these things, real numbers based upon real facts. One of the things that, one of the issues were, how much is the township paying for health costs? How much or for health insurance for library employees and/or retirees? It's been a long process to try and get through the issues of that. We've been negotiating with the township over a long period of time. Some of you may remember that the mayor came here a while ago and brought this binder with him, and said that, I don't understand why we need a shared services agreement. Everything is in here, and let's just move forward. Well, if you look at what's in here, there were a lot more questions than answers. So during the last meeting, we went through this agreement, proposed agreement in detail, made some suggested changes, sent it off. I sent a copy to the attorney for the township. Mr. Kleiman sent off a copy to township representatives to have their input negotiation with respect to our proposed changes, which, by the way, we were the first to ask for a shared services agreement. We made the first draft. We got a different draft back from the township, but we worked off of theirs and asked some questions and made some changes. Since that, and correct me on what the date was, I think it was November 22nd.
We approved the proposed shared services agreement the last meeting, November 21st. So it was shared with the attorney and the township officials on the 22nd.
On November 22nd, we had no response. We were continuing to get no response. And in the interim, or around that same time, a check was sent from the township, or not sent, a check was said that the township advised the library that we would be receiving a check for a certain amount, which had a significant shortfall of approximately $800,000 that we are unable to determine why these deductions are being made or what the basis of these deductions are. And so we've consulted with a person who used to work with, who works with the state libraries, another attorney, confirmed that we were on the right track and doing all that we could do. And basically, there is nothing left at this point than possibly, one last stab at further negotiations and some type of legal action. May require what's called the tort claims notice, may require, some going through hoops and filing some litigation. All of that is on the table, but in order to proceed with that, we need the board's approval to explore these options of either finally getting this agreement negotiated or somehow having a court decide what monies are due to the library. So with that in mind, that's the purpose of this resolution, is to provide the library, for the library to give both the director and myself some leeway to explore those options. There'd be a second resolution. We're hiring a consultant to assist us with that, as I referred to a person who had worked in the State Libraries Association, or worked with the State Libraries Association, to assist in that, because actually nobody really wants to have a litigation, and nobody really wants to have a prolonged legal battle over something that really should be very simply resolved. It's a matter of sharing information, sharing numbers, having people on both sides analyze those numbers and come to an agreement about which numbers are correct, or whether there can be some sort of negotiated compromise as to each party's numbers. So we want to explore that. We're not saying that we're necessarily going to file an action or file a tort claim suit, but at this point, and having gone through all of the negotiations for the last 2 years that still haven't gotten nowhere, and now having radio silence from the township, it's the recommendation of the resolution that we proceed with exploring other options, which to date people have been reluctant to do because litigation is costly, it's expensive, it takes a toll on both parties, but sometimes it's necessary in order to have an appropriate resolution to a problem. So that's the rationale behind this resolution.
Does that? Okay. Any other questions or comments? All right, hearing none, roll call vote, please. Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
You have the resolution, this one. Could you just repeat the resolution for the record?
Sure, the resolution is to proceed with legal action against the township with regard to the payment of library funds.
Thank you. Ms. Kraus?
Yes.
Ms. Mead?
Yes.
Mr. DePasquale?
Based on the fact that I don't feel I have enough information, I will be abstaining from this.
Okay. All right. Ms. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Romano?
Yes.
Ms. Massey?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you. The next resolution is to retain Michael Cerrone, who works with the the New Jersey State Library on library matters as a special counsel for the Edison Public Library Board to assist with negotiations and possible litigation with the township regarding the shared services agreement. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion if we can also state that he's going to be working at the rate of $200 per hour. Is that correct, John?
Yes,
That is
that's
correct.
correct.
Okay, as long as we have that on there.
All right, thank you.
Second.
All right, so Sue and Joe. All right, any questions or comments? All right, hearing none, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Ms. Massey?
Yes.
Yes. Ms. Kraus?
Yes.
Ms. Mead?
Yes.
Mr. DePasquale?
Abstain.
Ms. O'Neill?
Yes.
And Mr. Romano?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you. I believe that that is it for our resolutions. Is that correct? I believe so. For new business. Do we have any announcements? I do want to say happy holidays
again.
Yes, happy holidays to everyone. Happy Hanukkah, happy Kwanzaa, Merry Christmas, everything else. Happy New Year. I hope everyone has a very safe and healthy, very healthy, new and relaxing holiday season. Any other announcements? All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, the meeting is adjourned at 8:48. Our next regular meeting will be held on Wednesday, January 3rd at 7 p.m., and the location will be announced. Thank you.